I had been saving for that trip for years. Every penny from my tiny pension, every dollar tucked away from sewing hymns for neighbors and babysitting their children when my body ached. Paris had been my dream, the city Charles and I promised each other we'd see before he passed. But when he died, I told myself I'd still go one day just for him, just to breathe the air he wanted to breathe. So when my son Daniel said, "Mom, I'll take you. We'll finally do it together," I believed him. I handed over my savings, $10,000, a sum that left my hands shaking when I wrote the check. He smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll handle everything. You just relax." I should have known better. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. At the airport, I was dressed in my best, my navy coat that still smelled faintly of cedar, the scarf Charles had given me long ago. I clutched my worn leather bag and walked beside Daniel as he dragged his sleek black suitcase, never once slowing his pace for my aching knees. "Keep up, Mom," he muttered, as though I were a child. We reached the ticket counter and he handed over his phone. The agent printed one glossy boarding pass and slid it toward him. "And my mother's?" he asked casually. The agent typed, frowned, and then shook her head. "There's only one reservation here. First class." I turned to Daniel confused. "What about mine?" He chuckled too loudly and leaned on the counter. "Mom, you know how expensive these tickets are. One of us had to fly, right? Don't worry, I'll send you pictures. Maybe next year, if you save again, we'll get you on board too." My heart dropped. My legs went weak. "You mean, you used my money for your seat?" He smirked, slipping the pass into his pocket. "Don't be dramatic, I'll make it worth it. I'll bring you a souvenir. It's just a plane ride, Mom. What do you even need Paris for? You'll probably get tired walking from the gate." The words stung deeper than any slap. The agent avoided my eyes, pity written across her face. Daniel tapped his watch and said, "Time to board. Wish me luck, Mom." He kissed the air near my cheek, not even touching me, and walked toward security without looking back. I stood there shaking, humiliated, the passengers around me whispering, some staring, some pretending not to see. An old woman abandoned by her own son. My fingers dug into the strap of my bag as I blinked back the tears. "This was supposed to be our dream," I whispered. My knees wobbled, but I stayed upright, watching the back of him disappear into the crowd like I was nothing more than baggage he had decided not to claim. The flight number echoed through the loudspeaker. I imagined him settling into his wide leather seat, champagne in his hand, probably bragging to whoever sat next to him about how smart he was, how generous. He didn't know that every choice leaves a mark, and as I walked out of the airport alone, the winter wind cutting my face, I swore this humiliation would not be the end. Daniel thought he left me behind. He had no idea what was waiting for him in that seat beside him, high above the clouds. The cold wind bit into my face as I stepped out of the terminal, the sting mixing with the hot ache behind my eyes. People hurried past me with their rolling suitcases, families holding hands, children tugging on scarves, laughter floating around me as though the world hadn't just collapsed. I stood still, clutching my bag, my bones shaking more from the betrayal than the weather. He left me there like a stray dog, my son, the boy I had raised through nights of fever, the boy I worked double shifts for so he could have school shoes, the boy who stood at his father's grave and promised me, "I'll take care of you, Mom." I didn't know how long I stood there before I walked back inside, aimlessly at first, then with a strange calm. I didn't buy another ticket. I didn't even call a cab. I sat on one of the hard plastic benches, watching the departure board flicker with cities I would never see, and I thought of Charles. He always told me, life has a way of showing masks at the right time. Perhaps tonight was the mask being ripped from Daniel's face. Meanwhile, up in the air, Daniel must have been stretching in his wide seat, pressing the call button for more champagne. I imagined the smug look on his face, how he'd brag to a stranger that he was flying on his own dime. But the truth has teeth, and it bites when least expected. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. It was a message from a friend who worked in the airline industry, a kind woman who'd always looked out for me. She had seen the passenger list. "Did you know?" she wrote, that Daniel's seatmate is your old lawyer? The one who handled Charles's estate? The one Daniel never liked? My chest tightened as I read it twice, then 3 times. Of all the passengers in the sky, Daniel had landed next to the one man who knew exactly whose money was paying for his champagne. I almost laughed, a bitter sound rising from my throat. Fate had sharper claws than I ever could. That lawyer, Mr. Foster, had been loyal to Charles, loyal to me. He had once told Daniel directly, "Your mother is not your wallet." Daniel sneered at him then, but now he was trapped with him at 30,000 feet, nowhere to run, no excuse to make. I could see it in my mind, Mr. Foster leaning back, eyeing Daniel's glass, asking casually, "And how did you afford this trip?" Daniel fumbling, lying, maybe even throwing me under the bus again, pretending I wanted him to go. But Foster would know better. He had signed every paper with Charles, filed every account, and he knew the truth, that Daniel had drained me, stolen what was never his. I sat straighter on that bench, the humiliation in my chest twisting into something new, a quiet satisfaction, a dangerous patience. My son thought he humiliated me at the counter. He thought I went home broken, but life had placed him next to the one person who could tear the mask off him before he even touched down in Paris. I whispered into the noisy terminal, almost smiling, "Drink your champagne, Daniel. Your seatmate knows more than you think." When Daniel's flight finally landed in Paris, my phone buzzed again. It wasn't him. It was Mr. Foster. His message was short, sharp, the kind that made my hands tremble but my lips curl. He bragged. He lied. He exposed himself without realizing. "Don't worry, Margaret. I've already taken steps." Later, when Daniel called, his voice wasn't smug anymore. It was frantic. "Mom," he stammered, "something's wrong with my card. It's not working. They say there's some hold, some investigation. Did you talk to someone?" I listened in silence, letting him twist in his own desperation. Finally, I said, "Daniel, I didn't need to talk to anyone. You sat yourself next to the one man who knows every detail of our family's finances. You bragged with my money, and now you'll pay with your shame." He cursed under his breath, then tried to laugh it off, but his voice cracked. "Mom, come on, I was just treating myself. You'll get more savings. You'll forgive me." His arrogance was crumbling, and I savored every break in his tone. By the next morning, the news traveled faster than he did. His co-workers heard, his friends saw the frozen accounts, whispers spreading about the grown man who stole from his 70-year-old mother for a first-class seat. Mr. Foster had filed the report the moment Daniel loosened his tongue in the sky. Daniel thought he was charming, thought his lies about funding my mother's retirement were clever jokes. But jokes become knives when the wrong ears are listening. Days later, Daniel came back. Not with souvenirs, not with apologies, but with hollow eyes and trembling hands. He stood at my door, no longer the confident son who strutted through airports. "Mom," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "they've cut me off. My accounts, my job put me on suspension. Everyone knows. Please, please help me." I looked at him for a long time, the boy I had raised, the man who poured my life's savings into a seat he thought was above me. I opened the door only wide enough for him to see my face. "Daniel," I said softly, "you left me at the airport like I was trash. Now you know how it feels to be left with nothing." His lips parted, searching for words, but none came. I closed the door slowly, leaving him on the porch in the cold. Inside, I sat in my chair, the same worn one by the window, and sipped the tea I'd made earlier. The steam curled in the air, warm against my face. For the first time in years, I felt no weight on my chest. On that flight, Daniel thought he was untouchable in his first-class seat, miles above me. But fate had strapped him in beside the one man who could strip everything away. He thought he had won. Instead, he had written his own downfall at 30,000 feet. And I didn't need Paris to feel free. Watching my son crumble under the weight of his own arrogance was more breathtaking than any Eiffel Tower. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.